Welcome to the rune reading. Well, in actual fact, this is how I read the runes. I'm not going to show you absolutely everything, every procedure that I use, but I'll show you the fundamentals. So this is a set of orgonite runes. As you can see there, it's infused with pure garnet and pure copper grain. Organites. This particular rune is Sigrun, Suelu, victory, success in battle. Some people lay the runes out as such and then just ask them to pick a rune whilst they're all upturned in that way. They don't even bother to reverse them because they believe it's negative, like so. But there's a very specific reason for them having a negative connotation. So Gifu has no negative connotation. It can never be reversed. It can only ever be upright. Same as Nordis or Northis can only ever be reversed. But it doesn't mean something that's entirely negative. It simply means kindling the need fire, a painful passage across a bridge. It's, in other words, an ordeal that we have to go through in life to reach a better, brighter place. So you can use orgonite runes if you want to. You can also use any type of runes. You can use them carved into bone, stained with paint or blood, whatever you prefer. It's entirely up to you. There is no right or wrong way to do it. It's your way of doing it. And so I'll show you a wooden set now that I made. And so this is the set I made from cherry wood. We had a beautiful cherry tree blow down not far away in high winds a couple of winters ago, and instead, before obviously it was taken off by the council and shredded into good knows what, I took a good branch from it and made this set of runes. Cherry is a very hard, difficult wood to work with, but it creates a beautiful grain, absolutely beautiful. It's very difficult to sand by hand, but these are completely handmade. There's no electric equipment used in these at all. You know, and then obviously they were scented with white sage, which creates a lovely cleansing aroma in the bag. And obviously I scored them with the pyrotechnics pen, which creates a wonderful smell when you're doing it. And so, as I said, you can lay them out flat like that if you wish to, but it kind of spoils the mystery of the runes, in my opinion. So I don't use this method. I think this is something for learners and beginners to actually use. I use a totally different method. So I'll show you my method now. So here we have the bag of runes. You can see the runes inside. All 24 of them, the Elder Futhark. And so the way I work is I never ask questions of the subject. The subject is the person that I'm doing the reading for. So the subject will be sat on the other side of the table, hypothetically, and I will say to that person, pick 3 subjects, 3 areas of your life. Don't tell me anything about those subjects. I don't want to know anything. Don't talk to me in any way, shape or form. Just pick those areas, formulate them very clearly in your mind, and then I'll ask you to draw runes from the bag based on past, present and future of that situation over a 9 rune spread. And so the person will sit there and they'll formulate the issues in their mind, and then when they're very clear on it, they'll say, okay, I'm ready to draw. So I'll ask them to shake the bag, put their hands into the bag, put their energy onto the runes, and then I'll ask them to just sift through the bag nice and slowly, not to rush, don't be impetuous about it, and just draw 1 rune from the past. So the first subject has been formulated and they draw a rune from the bag, which is Fihu. And that's the past of the situation. And so again I'll say, okay, now pick a rune from the bag which dominates the current situation, the right now, the era now. And then we'll pick another rune from the bag. And that one is Othala. And then they'll pick another rune from the bag which dictates the future path of this situation, and that one is Perthos. So, how to interpret it? It's actually, in actual fact, it's not a literal standard interpretation for every single person. Every subject is different, and every issue that they formulate is equally different, because humans are unique, I feel. We are a species, but we live unique individual lives. And so therefore these issues crop up. And so you can't just give them a literal interpretation of what the runes mean, as it were, reading from the book, because that just doesn't work at all. So this person may well have come up with an issue like, I think, my home is not secure. And so the past dictates that there was strong financial presence in the past of that situation. The presence dictates the homestead, Othala, and that all is well. That the future of the situation is governed by Perthros, and because it's upright, as it were, instead of reversed like that, it dictates a positive future, but that the person is going to have to trust entirely in what's coming to them. And so the subject has chosen another area of their life that they want to focus on. And again, it's the past, present and future, working on the Norns formula. Past, present and future. Hood for Tandy and Skuld. And so again, without asking questions, I don't ask them to speak to me in any way, shape or form. And this can be done from 5,000-6,000 miles away. No problem at all with remote viewing. That's very easy. You don't have to be in front of me. But most of my subjects have been sat right in front of me, obviously. Some of them haven't been. They've been 4,000 or 5,000 miles away, quite literally. Other side of the world, some of them. And so they pick another rune. This time, the past is Egel, chaos, storms, disruption. Entirely of their own making as well. Always reversed. And so the present of that situation for this subject is, it comes out. Not reverse, but actually blank side upwards, which is part of the mystery in actual fact, so that it's not meant to be entirely obvious. And so the future, the subject goes for the future scenario in this area, and that also comes out blank. And so I say to them, turn the rune that way or that way, because if you turn it that way, it may mean one thing. If you turn it that way, it may mean another thing. Likewise with this rune. And so they decide to turn it that way. It can only ever be negative anyway. The current situation is the death of that situation. Yawaz. Based on the yew tree. I have some yew runes as well in actual fact. I'll show you those in a few minutes time. And so that situation is well and truly dead. The chaos is at an end. And it's been a real ordeal for that person. And so they decided to turn the other one this way. You see? And 3 runes come out of the bag that can only ever be reversed. So we have Hegelaz, Yawaz and Isa. Isa is the ice rune, which means the future is frozen. It will be extremely difficult for that person to make any form of progress in that area of their life, because progress, as it were, in the situation is simply trapped under the permafrost, waiting for a brighter, warmer spring to arrive, which could take 1 to several years. And that is just the way it is for some people. I've had these situations in my own life, sadly. That's just the way it is. And so there is no guarantee of a positive or negative reading. Everyone's reading is completely different. I've never done 2 readings that were exactly the same. They're always different, and I've done thousands of readings for subjects all over the world. And I like the runes because they're very direct. I don't particularly like the tarot because they're very hairy-fairy and pictorial and descriptive, and nowhere near as direct and to the point. You know, so the runes will get straight to the heart of the matter very quickly, as you can see. So the subject decides to go for the 3rd and final area of their life that they're most concerned about. And they go into the bag, they sift around, they pick out another rune, blank side up. So they're not clear about the past in that situation, which is the reason why they're having the rune reading. And so I asked them to pick one for the present, and that comes out Dagaz, total transformation, a bright, happy new dawn. And so for the final rune, which is the 9th rune in the reading, I asked them to go for the present, obviously, and they draw Perthos again. And so Perthos has come out twice now in the 9 rune reading. I don't do all 9 runes at once for this very specific reason, because it becomes confusing. And I also like to test repetition factors because that is important. And so it's the same issue again. Does this rune get turned that way or this way? Or that way or that way? It's entirely up to the subject. So I leave them to make that choice. So they decide to turn it this way. Aha. You see, had they have turned it the other way, it would have been a totally different meaning. Fihu, upright. But they didn't. They turned it that way, which means the past of that situation is one of a very difficult, how could I put it, process to prosper and succeed. Because Fihu is the rune of nutrition, of sustenance, of success. Usually it relates to finance, but mainly in the ancient times to crops. And crops was the essential life source of the community at that time. And so it says that in this situation, the subject has been through a very bad time. The crops, as it were, have not grown as well as they should have done. But now, in the present, things have transformed completely. And that period, which lasted several years, is now at an end. And this force that has come along, ushered in by Dagaz, shows that everything is going to be transformed completely forever. But what exactly will the future bring? Well, it's positive. It's not entirely clear or certain, but it's positive because Perthros is upright instead of reversed. So it indicates a positive, fateful future. But again, specifically, it can't be seen because I'm not actually doing a reading for a subject here. You know, I'm doing a demonstration of how to read the runes or how I read the runes. And I use primarily ESP, extrasensory perception. I don't ask questions in any way, shape or form. And if people sit there and want to tell me something and they wax lyrical, then I can't read for them because that destroys the essence of the reading, because I can then be accused of auto-suggestion, and I will never allow anyone to accuse me of auto-suggestion, which is the reason why I don't strike up a conversation of familiarization and try to trick information out of the subject and then mirror it back at them, and at the end of the reading say, how was that for you? Oh, that was wonderful. Yeah, it was so accurate. Yeah, of course it was, because, you know, the subject was lured into releasing said information. I don't operate like that. I've seen plenty of people who do. It's not something I will ever do. I work this way, which is the best way. Full stop, as far as I'm concerned. Not just the best way for me, it's the best way to determine one's accuracy. And that's all that concerns me, is accuracy. Okay? I want to be known as being accurate and genuine. That's all that I'm concerned about, and I want to give the subject the best possible meaningful reading that I can. And so now I'm going to show you a couple of more sets that I made. And so here we have Aventurine, the communication stone, which clears blockages in one's ability to express themselves. These are also beautiful. These are organites as well, fused with pure copper grain. I really like making organites, but I don't make just organites. I also make wooden runes. I've made runes from bones as well in the past, even from pebbles picked up on the beach. As I said, it's entirely up to you. You can make from just about everything. I mean, even in some situations, I've just scrawled them onto a piece of A4 paper, cut them into 24 pieces, and read that way, even on the back of cereal packets, which are very useful, which is often what you have to use in prison. Although British prisons forbid the reading of the runes, I paid no attention whatsoever to their rules and carried on reading the runes. Even when I was told to stop doing so by the prison service, I carried on doing it because prisoners wanted me to. And I don't care about their tyrannical rules and regulations because they're deeply and fundamentally anti-pagan. A fact which I've covered many times on my Daily Agenda channel and also with the Odinist Order. And so the Aventurine runes, very nice, very light, a lot lighter than the Garnet runes, both in weight and also in terms of energy, because that's the whole purpose of Aventurine. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can make them from just about anything, really. But, some people prefer organised, and so that's why I make them. They're very attractive and very good to work with. So this set of runes is made from the most dynamic of all trees, in my experience. In 30 odd years of making runes and doing readings, I made these as well by hand. I know they're very difficult wood to work with, and also the sap from it is toxic if you continue to absorb it, and it allows to build up in your body, which is not a very good idea. This is the yew tree, tree of death, life and rebirth. But yes, taxin or Taxus baccata. The sap is toxic. Just about everything on the tree is toxic. The needles can kill you. The berries are edible, but the seed inside the berries is known to cause heart attacks. It's also been used as a very effective cure for cancer. And the yew tree is a wonderful tree. In fact, where I actually do most of my podcasts, a yew tree there, an absolute beauty, about 200 years old, had become infested with ivy, which is a parasitic sucker. And so I took my folding saw there and cut off all the ivy, detached them from the ground, and then detached them further up as well to ensure that there can be no reconnection through sap flow. And that was in May. And now we're in the middle of September and nearly all of the ivy has died off and the tree is flourishing again and looking forward to a brighter, happier winter with all of that parasitic infection removed from it. And it was from that very tree that I took a branch to make these runes a couple of years ago, before the parasitic infection became so dominant, thus necessitating my intervention in May this year. But these are beautiful. So the wooden sets that I make, they're £25 each should anyone want to buy them. The orgonite sets are £30 each because they cost a whole lot more to produce. And obviously I need to make a little bit of profit on it. But some people sell them for very extravagant prices. And some people sell them cheaper, but they put very few crystals in them. And also, a very small amount of copper, skimping to make as much profit as possible. And I don't do that. The garnet runes that I showed you earlier are absolutely loaded with garnet and pure copper grain. That's why they're so heavy. They're almost industrial strength, quite frankly. And the bag is quite heavy to hold as well. But I hope in making this podcast, which are many hundreds in actual fact, of subscribers on the Daily Agenda YouTube channel asked me to make, I trust this has garnered some further insight for people, particularly those who are new to rune readings or new to the Odinist faith. And should there be any more questions of any description, feel free to make a comment, or if you have any suggestions for further podcasts of this nature. I know some people want to see a ritual in practicing. Well, I think we'll wait until the Winter Nights Festival, which most people call All Hallows or Halloween for that one, and we'll have to set up the lighting accordingly and record that, and I hope that I'll meet with your satisfaction. But thank you for tuning in to the Runecasting podcast, and I hope things are now a lot clearer for you, which is the whole objective of the runes.